Nothing we say is investment advice. Please pause on all 3 pages of this disclaimer and read it.
Good morning, everybody. Cowboy here. It is 8:30 a.m. EST. The show starts, as it always does, from Tuesday through Friday, here and now on the YouTubes, on the Rumbles, on the X. We are a lot of places, but we are not every place, because why be every place? I don't know. I'm just talking. The blood continues. The blood continues. And the question is whether or not we have seen a local bottom on Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin is all the rage. So we're, of course, going to start with talking about Bitcoin. And if we have time, we're going to run through the indices, because the stock indices right now, and as usual, are dictating in a big way what Bitcoin does. So what's happening with Bitcoin is being reflected in the stock market. And a lot of people don't know this, but that's generally how things go. So let's take a look at Bitcoin, what may happen today, what may happen the next couple of days. And then we're going to take a look probably at the SP 500 or the NASDAQ, if not both. Now, Bitcoin has made what is probably going to be, for at least a day or two, a local bottom. Might be, might not be. That it's a tough call, but 82,000 or so was the bottom. Now, I had a short on, and I was publicly in that short. And you can see that white arrow. I drew that yesterday prior to the move down. I also drew this one here prior to its move down. So this move down, the big one right there that everybody got, on the news, we called it a day or two ahead of time. So we're literally predicting the future. We're not always right, but we're more often right than wrong. And by a long shot around here, we're pretty good at what we do, we being me, via the Guerilla as well. Yeah? Via the Guerilla, this guy is able to call the shots months ahead of time. Via the Guerilla is amazing. He's just not here with us right now, but he could pop in. So let's go ahead and take a look at what might happen, what the algos are saying. What I think might happen right at the moment. You have a couple of choices, and it really could kind of go a few different ways. But as the charts unfold, we're going to have some ideas, right? As these candles paint on the chart, is going to tell us more and more of what might happen. We have a very clear resistance up here at 89,450, right? 89,450 at the bottom, 82,180. Those are your kind of areas where price is going to have a hard time breaking above or below 89,450, reflecting really what is a 91,000 resistance. And then the local is that 89 number. And then the 82, which is a local support. Now, as it stands right now, there is a fair amount of force heading in both directions. There's a lot of force pushing price up, and there's a lot of force pushing price down. And these are algorithmically on different time frames. So what we're going to have to see is what side wins. And the easy way to tell is going to be by joining Algo Factory. Come on over, algofactory.tech. We'll tell you what's going on as it unfolds. But in the meantime, an easy way to tell is to take a look at the price action. And so the way that I play it ranges, right? Now, there's no range yet. This has not developed a range. If you look back here, this was a range. I could sell the top of that and the bottom of that, buy the bottom, sell the top. I can make money like that with this, right? Because the range was painted. We had a clue as to where price might go. Now, we don't really have that right now, but we have what might become that in the meantime. But until that happens, and if price kind of goes like this and starts to bounce, then we know we can start to depend on these supports and resistances for buy and sell points. But until that happens, we don't have that. And anybody who tries to trade that ahead of time might end up, losing money. So right now, if I were to look at the short-term algos, I would expect, this is a tough one. This really could go either way. Yeah, price is at kind of an either way moment right now as it stands. So whichever way price goes right now, it's probably going to go ahead and touch one of these supports. So if price starts to kind of head up here, then it's going to go up and test this 89 number. If it starts to head down here, it's going to test this 82 number. And at this time, I don't really have a strong indication as to which way that's going to be. The price just has to unfold. That's how it is right now. And that's how markets are a lot. You have to wait until you get more information before you start making calls. And otherwise, people would be trading all the time. And now, buying and selling is a different story. Some people are offloading their investment. Some people are investing. That's why price moves. But actually trading we need to have some clear signals as to what's going to happen. And now there might be those who do have clear signals at this time. According to the way that I trade, things are really, really kind of 50-50 either way. So if price heads up and continues up, I would look to see how price behaves at 89,450. If price heads down, I look to see how price behaves at 82. 200 or so, 82,170. So that's pretty much all I got right now. If I had to take a guess at which way it's going to go, I'd say down. The higher time frame is bearish. But what we're seeing here on the daily is that there is some support from the algo side of things. But the higher time frame is so bearish that if I had to take a guess, I would guess the price will head down before it heads up. However, I'm not going to trade based on that because I don't have enough algorithmic reason. My rules are not met to go long or short. I just got to wait for price to unfold. We have some questions here. Moon-pilled rational optics. Hey, Algo, good job with Glenn's interview. Oh yeah, thanks. Thanks for coming on and joining us over here too. Yeah, appreciate that, Moon. Yeah, hit that like button. Yeah, I was over on. That was such a fun interview over with Glenn Lawrence. I spent a couple hours over there the other day. It was a blast. Glenn's a great dude. And as it stands, like right now, I'm less than a mile from where he lives right now. But he's actually not where he lives. He's taking care of a friend right now who's in the hospital. So we didn't get a chance to meet up. But we'll be back here, and I imagine he'll be back here. We'll meet up at some point. All right, good. So let's move on to take a look, as we promised, at the indices. And I'm going to take a quick look at the NASDAQ because the NASDAQ and the way the NASDAQ is flowing is going to have a lot to do with what Bitcoin does, like we just talked about, right? If I were to take Bitcoin and overlay it on the NASDAQ, which I could do right now. So if I hit this plus button, hit Bitcoin, put it on a new price scale, you'll notice, and it's kind of hard to see a little bit. Let me make this line a little more visible so that you can see it. Give me just a moment here. So this blue line is Bitcoin. And if we were to make it a little more congruent, you'll notice that Bitcoin traces the NASDAQ pretty well. It does its own thing. And when you go back through time, if I were to take a look at a higher time frame, it's going to do very different things. Bitcoin is expanding much more quickly than the NASDAQ going back a few years. But right now, you can see that when the NASDAQ dumps, Bitcoin dumps right after. When the NASDAQ heads up, Bitcoin heads up right after. Once in a while, Bitcoin will precede the NASDAQ. It's not that the NASDAQ always goes first, but we must understand that Bitcoin tends to trade a lot like tech stocks. And if you take a look at the SP 500, you'll see the same thing in a similar way. But I think it follows the NASDAQ a little more closely. Either way, you'll see Bitcoin mostly following. You'll see it diverge here and there, but you'll also notice that the NASDAQ, in this case, the SP 500 headed down and Bitcoin headed down afterwards, just a few hours later. And the NASDAQ is the same thing. The NASDAQ started to head down, and then Bitcoin started to head down about 2-3 hours later or 6 hours later, depending on how you look at the charts. So if we're going to try to get the flavor for what Bitcoin's going to do, it would be wise to take a look at the NASDAQ. Now, it seems, algorithmically, the NASDAQ wants to continue down. Doesn't mean that it's going to do so because we always have a chance at the plunge protection team coming on in and holding things up. Now, they will do it at some point. The question is whether or not that's right now. And we don't, necessarily have connection to, the big muckety mucks that know exactly what's going to happen. But if we had anything like that, he would have just entered the studio right now. His name is V the Guerilla. He likes bananas. And yes, he likes
like banana cream pie. I like banana Fosters. I like banana bread. I like banana pudding. I like all kinds of bananas, man.
Nice. Yes. Ben, my friend Ben from over, I don't want to say where you're from, but my buddy Ben is asking if QQQ is NASDAQ, and it is. Yes, sir. So V, how you doing, sir?
Dude, I'm doing good. I had some nice calls yesterday night. For those that were in the live, I was involved in a crypto transaction. We're selling off.
Don't tell too many secrets. We're still live to the public right now.
I know, and I'll tell you guys all about it. And there's this coin, man. I was actually shocked. We had a conversation with me and the institutional guys, and I was shocked to find out where some of the money's starting to go now. It's freaking wild, and I'm like, I couldn't believe it. I was absolutely just beside myself when I heard it. So I'll share that in the private room, man. I'm
like
gonna
right
name
now.
the coin, And last night before going to sleep at like 2:30 in the morning, I purchased some.
I kind of unfortunately I talked over you. You said that it's not a main coin. Is that what you said?
Yeah, it's not a meme coin
Oh, not a
at
meme
all.
coin.
Yeah,
Well,
it's not a meme
screw
coin. It's a
that, dude.
real coin with real functions. And I'm surprised. I thought this was a dead zombie coin.
Ah,
I'm surprised institutional capital is starting to head there. I'm surprised.
I'm gonna take some
Yeah.
guesses once we head to the private live lab. I'm gonna take some guesses, and we're right here. We're right at the end here. So I'm just gonna take a quick kind of look at the QQQ, aka the Nasdaq, and yeah, it does look like it's gonna continue down. But the Nasdaq, similar to Bitcoin right now, seems to it wants to establish a range. It technically kind of has between about 21,318 and about 20,960. And as long as price stays in here, there's a good chance that Bitcoin is going to remain between 82 and 87. And if NASDAQ dumps below that, and it may very well, then you'll see Bitcoin probably dump below 82. So watch the QQQ, which is basically it's the NASDAQ futures. Watch NASDAQ, watch QQQ. That's going to give you your clues as to what Bitcoin is going to do, and all of that rhymed, and that's great. Via the Guerilla, sir, can you please get us to the private live lab, because I'm thirsty to know what this dead zombie coin is, and I want to take a guess before you tell us.
Yeah, absolutely. With that being said, folks, we are over and out.
Join us or die.